Hello.
Hi Deb, how's it going?
It's going pretty good. How about for you?
That's going well. Nice fall weather.
Where are you located?
I'm in Redmond, Washington, near Seattle.
Oh, nice. I'm on the East Coast.
Oh yeah.
We're still waiting for our fall foliage. I don't know. Very strange.
Yeah, the East Coast has been I don't know where you're at, but there's been some crazy weather out that way.
Yeah, it's nice and warm here.
Oh,
Like,
nice.
yeah, but it's warm and
Yeah.
green. It's a head scratcher. It's not
Yeah.
normal, but what can you do?
Yeah, I spent a year out there in Virginia when I was in the Army, and
Oh, did you
it
like?
was love the fall. You
Uh-huh.
know, we're at Virginia Beach,
Mm-hmm.
and it's Thanksgiving weekend and it's 70 degrees out, Um, you get that over here. You have to be in San Diego to get that. So, no, we had one of those like really, really warm falls when I was there too.
Cool, cool. I'm hoping Shruti will call in. She sent me email, so I think she is. I'll do just to make sure that you're up to date. I don't think you were on last week. So
I missed last week. Yeah.
I'm taking a leave of absence because I have a new grandbaby, so I'm going to be taking
Oh,
care of him for a month. Yeah.
congratulations. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. So it's very exciting. So we're pausing these meetings, and it kind of makes sense with the summit coming up anyway. There probably would have been a couple of weeks of pause. So
Yeah.
this,
And Shruti and I, we sunk up, we had to sync an email over our two talks. And I think we're aligned there.
okay, good. Did you get
Yeah.
in a plug for this working group?
I'll add that. Um,
Okay, excellent. I
I,
did, in one of the minutes, I did put what the plug could look like or what.
oh, I'll take a look.
Let me see
Um,
if it's here at all.
I'm getting confused with all the changes in OCP,
Oh my gosh, you gotta
if
tell
it's in,
me.
the wiki is moving to GitHub and all kinds
Exactly.
of stuff.
So
Yeah.
what do you know about that?
I just know I got a message, I think yesterday, that said the wiki's moving to GitHub, and I'm fine with that. I just hope I can, we can get to what we need to get to. It's always been, every group is different.
Mm-hmm.
Some groups are really good about posting recordings, others are horrible. Um, some groups actually, big groups like the OCP security group, they do a really good job each week of having someone assigned to take notes and send those out. And then every other group is not like that.
Mm.
For me, it's always interesting to navigate different OCP groups. I tend three or four. Yeah.
That's just with an OCP. I go to the Green Grid as well, and one other that's slipping my mind. But everybody's got their own way of doing things. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's kind of
So I assume that change is good because hopefully there's more conformity and all that. But I always hate, change always worries me as well. So we'll see.
well, I just put a bunch of time into getting my permissions on the wiki and the wiki up to date and everything pointing to the right place. And so I was a little, whatever. I wasn't jumping for joy when I read that. Oh, we have, um, we have, now that we've kind of got that stuff at least figured out now, we've got a whole new thing. Um, I just got the right permissions for Zoom so that in theory I should be able to access the recording. So, because now it records, but I don't have access to those recordings, so I can't move them any place that, and so far we've had the past whatever month plus we've had such small meetings. I don't think it's that important to have the recordings, but um Yeah,
Yeah,
there's
I
good
don't know if
time.
we need a recording of what the weather's like in opposite ends of
Exactly.
the United States.
Exactly.
Hi,
Well,
folks.
Shruti's on.
Sorry for joining late.
Hello. We are being recorded though, so it's just, but it's going into the black hole.
Okay. Okay. I did catch the way end of a discussion that something is changing.
But we're going from the wiki to a GitHub
That,
at OCP.
I heard that. Yeah.
Yeah, after
So
Deb spent a lot of time trying to figure out the wiki, they decided that now's a good time to change the system. So I'm commiserating.
yes, exactly. I hope that they don't expect this change is going to happen like overnight. I hope we have some window um, to do
So
it.
are we
But
planning any, I guess the one question I have, and maybe this is for the larger group as well, are we planning any meetings at OCP? I'm attending some for example, for the storage group, um, or a subset of the storage group, and I don't know if we intend to meet or not. Um, and that might be a question for, again, the larger sustainability group.
yeah, I think you should ask the larger sustainability group. And this is perhaps a good segue into, well, first, before we do that, um, oh, so I guess I sent it in an email on what the slide should look like. All right, we'll put that on the stack and come back to it. So there is, under the data center facilities part of OCP, they also have a sustainability group that has multiple subgroups. So I haven't been going to all the subgroups, but I've been trying to go to the monthly meeting. Um, so,
Deb,
um,
we jump into that. I just wanted to answer Ari's previous question. Actually, I was going to, meet Mohan and Alex. We can make it a all sustainability folks meeting. We can just make it broader. So if you're interested, I'll send an email out, include you folks and maybe Danny, Sammy, um, and
well,
whoever is
but
appropriate.
also if you could send it to Priya at Google and try to get this other group because she's trying to organize getting that group together.
So maybe we want to do two different, right? One, folks who are working on the sustainability workstream, and one maybe interacting with the DCF workstream.
Well,
Right?
I won't be there, so I leave it up to you.
Mhm.
um, but yeah, you can organize it any way you like, but I definitely think it's a great idea um, to try to get people together. So I'm going on my happy leave of absence. Divya unfortunately had to fly to India for a family emergency, so I don't think she'll be at the summit. So it could be just you two. So definitely getting together with Mohan and Alex and anybody Alex wants to bring in. Um, I
Yeah,
think
I
that would
guess
be
Sunny
good.
will be there too. I I don't know if Daniel is going to be there, but Sunny will be there too. I think.
Yeah, I haven't heard from Danny. I don't believe he's presenting. Um, that working group has not met since the workshop. And we met like twice before the workshop to get his slides together. So yeah, I don't think he has much to present there.
Yeah.
So let's talk about, so I've attended two meetings of this data center facilities sustainability working group. Um, they have multiple presentations at the OCP Summit. They have one on metrics. Interestingly, they think that there isn't overlap with Sammy's. Um, I don't know. Um, but I think they have three presentations, so it'd be good to attend. and or meet up with them, etc. So, but they seem to be asking a lot of just general questions about how utilities operate and carbon accounting with respect to all that scope 2, etc. So I volunteered to give them a 101 on that. I also volunteered to give them a 101 on what all the work that we've been doing. And so they're only meeting once a month, so I volunteered for it's early in December and then early in January, and I said I could do those in either order. And you know, I'll be off email for a while now, so but when I'm back, we can see which dates they pick to do which of the talks, and I think all three of us should attend the talk about this group, and we can just kind of strengthen up the ties. They have an embodied, they don't call it embodied, but they do have a sub work stream that's looking at the carbon embodied in the data center construction, and I think that's pretty much what they were doing. I went to that meeting once.
They have one work stream that is looking at sort of putting together all the sustainability metrics at a data center level.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
a lot beyond PUE and all. Actually, that was the reason. If Kadev, initially when I had mentioned Priya, the reason I came across Priya was because DCEM work stream within sustainability within our chapter and their work stream were both working on PUE. So, so we actually had a chat to align that. That is how I came across Priya. So I know they have one work stream at least trying to put together all the sustainability metrics at a data center level.
Correct. So if you attend their talk, you'll probably see where they are now.
Do they mention doing anything like an LCA, a life cycle assessment at a data center level? I'm guessing no, because that'd be really hard, but just
so again,
curious.
I would go to if they have a talk from the construction people.
The construction people might, just for the physical facility. I could see them having that.
Yeah. So if you go to that talk, you can see if they what they say.
And this other work that I was talking about, Ari, that is mostly to, sort of put together the metrics, not going into LCA or how the LCA is run or what is the carbon impact, but just talking about what the metrics are.
Yeah, we talked a lot yesterday about WUE and how Climate Neutral Data Center Pact has defined WUE. So I was sharing some information with them on that. But I'm sure, like you said, they're looking at PUE for, I would suspect, etc. So Rob, I can't remember his last name, Schneider Electric. He attended Sammy's meeting some number of times, and he felt confident that that he does not overlap with Sammy.
Right. Yeah, that's the conclusion we had come to, sort of.
Yeah.
You're talking about Robert Munger, right?
Yeah, that's probably it.
So are they doing anything around CUE?
That was one metric I saw in their document listed. But when you say doing anything around, just to give you reference, even for PUE, they are not trying to define, at what workload it should be measured or what cadence it should be measured. They are not trying to define those aspects. That is what DCEM is trying to define. They are right now more trying to create a holistic picture of all the metrics and what different, portions the metrics cover.
Yeah. I had mentioned to him utilization, and I mentioned it at Sammy's as well. And the particular reason why I keep bringing it up is all these EU laws, and I don't know what lot, if lot 9 is a law, but also Energy Star, US Energy Star, EU lot 9 and EU EED, Equipment Efficiency Directive, all required to report utilization, and the EED in particular wants utilization at the data center level. So Rob opted not to include it. Hopefully over time I can convince him to that it, that there there are there's laws and regulations that want this, so OCP should include it informationally for people. So yeah, but it would be good, the more you can interact with them and talk to them in person, I think that would be good. All right. So I think we finished that, but let's just capture this will probably be early December or early January. And I mean, I did also put to Priya, since they only meet once a month, if she wants to do it on an off cycle or whatever, that we'd be open to that, and talk to her later in November. All right, so let's just make sure the meetings are paused for the rest of October. I thought I was going to come back on 11/9, but then I found out 11/10 is Veterans Day, which is a holiday, so it seems kind of crazy to come back for just one day. So we might not meet again to 11/16, but I will update the calendar. Right now, 11/9 is there. But I'm hoping that the updates to the calendars came through to both of you to delete the meetings from now to the 9th. Did that work out okay?
I know that, like I'm aware of that. I don't remember seeing update means in the meeting minutes.
When I removed it from our calendar, it was supposed to send, and I got it, but that doesn't necessarily mean very much.
No, it's
Maybe.
still in my calendar.
Yeah,
And I
maybe
don't remember it like same as Shruti.
Yeah, so that was that's a bummer.
Yeah.
How come that didn't go more? All right, so, oh, I should bookmark some of these things. All right, so here's our working group homepage. So they're gone from the calendar, but you're saying you didn't get.
They were still on my calendar, so I just went in and deleted those
Okay.
manually.
All right. Well, I don't know what to say. I clicked the thing that said to send it to the team. So it's a bummer.
I think Shruti and I are probably both on, we're on the Microsoft platform or Office app platform, and it could just be a platform thing. So
Yeah.
I am too, though. So I don't know. All righty. So, and I just left here the test cases, so I remember to bring it up again next time we meet. So on the white paper and grading, I actually did spend quite a bit of time on that this week. Unfortunately, I don't think it's going to be all that readable. So what happened last week is we started playing around with grading, and we also got a comment that, oh, that picture we had, excuse me, the picture we had was too confusing or whatever. And when we were playing around with grading, we played around with 3 different examples. So what I did was I embedded those 3 examples in the document. So one example is just very, very simple. It's a IC package, just one chiplet inside. The second one is a package that has 2 different types of chiplets, one of which has 4 copies from different wafer fabs. And then the third one, to represent products like DDR DIMMs, has the full daughter card, 2 different packages. For simplicity, I did 1 chiplet. So this is text that we had previously in the document. I just moved it here. But what I did is for each of the examples, I drew up the picture. So we kind of start out with a much simpler picture for people to start to get their heads around how this picture works. We got rid of the dotted lines, etc. So I do think this is a better way to do things. So that's example 1. I'm going to skip past this. Now for example 2, you can see it's a slightly more complicated picture, but I think it's still much simpler than the previous picture. So, and it builds on the simple example. And then example 3 looks very much like the previous one, except for we took out the dotted lines, and now we don't say the daughter card is optional because it's assumed to be in this flow. So I do think that was really good feedback. And I do think it will make understanding the document more clear. Then what I did for example 1 and example 2 is I moved some information. So we're looking at example 2. I moved some information that we used to have elsewhere in the document here, so that we've kind of got all in line. The picture of example 2, so, you know, some of the information of example 2, and then we used to have how to calculate, oops, this is already a bug here, how to calculate the embodied carbon. I'm very unfortunate that I can't get this all on one page. I've already made the text all so small and did 2 columns. I still couldn't get it on one page. So, but that's here. And then I started playing around with calculating a grade, just putting some random numbers in and seeing what a grade would come to for this. So a big thing, Ari, that we came to last time in our discussion was that we need to find some way to normalize the grade so that if you happen to have 20 chiplets, you don't get this huge grade that looks, so much higher relative to design that just has, say, 1 chiplet, right? So there needs to be this normalization that goes on. So that was kind of a big takeaway from walking through this last week.
Yeah, that's hard to do. I mean, like let's take a SSD example where you could do based on capacity, right? Um, And so, one grade for a 1 terabyte drive, another grade for an 8 terabyte drive, or 20 terabyte drive, whatever. I don't know how you do that. I don't know if it's MIPS or what the denominator would be.
Mm, right. So I just did this for ICs. I think that once we feel confident on that, then we can go um, go look at hard drives. I think for
Oh,
DDRs
okay.
and
No, yeah. So I see what you're doing. I think that's as good as any measure. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it's just kind of a way of normalizing things.
Yeah. I don't
That's
know if all integrated circuits are equal or not. Uh,
no, I believe actually that's true. That's why we have the metadata, right? Just again, just to put some clarity, when somebody just puts a number, boom, here's the embodied carbon for this entity, right? The more you know what's in and what's out, what's market based, what's location based, the more of that information you have, I think the quicker people will see can't really nothing is apples to apples, right? Um,
yes. Somehow it needs to be carbon emissions per compute unit of something. Um,
Right. So,
but
well, so in
yeah.
this case, we would do it for, per DIM or per IC, right? Or, kind of at those levels. So again, kind of the way we are normalizing is that there, in this example, there's two different wafer fabs. So we're gonna basically divide, sum up each one, the scope one, the scope two, the scope three, and then divide by two. And then I haven't worked out yet for what would be the DIMMs and the SSDs, but um, and so kind of the way I did it, it's very similar, but here there'd be two different assembly and tests. So we would and average the two different assembly and test scores, the two different wafer fab scores, and then the one daughter card. So because I guess for DDR, for SSD, there is this capacity thing, but if we go back and look at our list of what we're hoping to cover here, hmm,
Those are almost easier because you can simply go by capacity, and that's
exactly.
maybe not 100% fair because you can have different performance
Yeah,
characteristics, but I think that's almost easier than looking at integrated circuits,
right,
which to
right.
me is
So,
a much harder problem. And honestly, when we do LCAs, we hire a third party,
yep,
and it's not even transparent to me how they come up with their data.
yep.
Um, it's like close to the vest held stuff, but they pass audits with third parties, including the EU. Um, so I'm probably a year away from starting to peel that onion.
Mm,
And that's why I worry about with OCP is if I think these metrics are good for general guidance to the industry, but then the second question is when we start dealing with regulators, they're going to look for something else, and it's bureaucratic and there's a lot of IP around it. How folks come up with these studies and develop them, and I think I work with FIPS certification for drives. For
Mhm.
example, Opal drives we sell into Microsoft and others. And boy, I mean, there's like 56 pages of documentation that we pay a third party to help us develop
mm-hmm.
when we submit that. So I'm just I just want to make sure that we have guardrails on what the OCP role is and how we guide the industry and what our goals are versus what companies need to do to work with regulators.
Have you seen regulators asking for embodied carbon?
I think the closest is just like the recent California rule that has come out that says that in, I think, 3 years or 4 years, some like businesses above a certain threshold will have to publish their scope 1, scope 2 carbon and then their scope 3 carbon. I think that's the closest to, any kind of regulation where you're being asked for the carbon.
Right. And the way, um, the kind of the way I've seen that upstream scope 3 work, right, is you go to your, you know, top suppliers that, account for the largest percent, and you basically force them to give you, like Ari was just explaining. And actually, it cracks me up what you described, Ari, because I will tell you that what Intel gives is much less than that. And it's
I
not to Microsoft, I'm talking specifically. I probably shouldn't be
Yeah,
saying
yeah.
this on tape. So that's pretty interesting. But yeah, and then what typically happens for the rest of the upstream scope 3 is you just work with CDP, you get the dump of, all your top suppliers. You do a financial um, intensity usually or something like that to just sort of estimate. So I think what, this is giving, because these products, although, all products are complex in the modern day, I think, but because these products are so incredibly complex, we're trying to steer people to, do things um, in a similar way. And I think it would be cool if regulation came along and this was one of, I'm sure, many inputs into regulation as if they want to think about embodied carbon of IT products. But I would have to say for like the EED, um, Energy Star, EU Lot 9, none of them are asking for embodied carbon. And actually that in the green grid, they're like, don't bring that up. We're all only operational carbon. I mean, and also in climate neutral data center pact, nothing about it. So I do think it's not, I think we're ahead of the curve, and I think that's my
I
opinion, Ari, is that
no,
this could be good input.
I agree with you, and we actually see more regulations around things like PFAS, forever
Yes,
chemicals in our products.
yes,
That is more impending. I do see it coming in the future, though.
Yeah,
yeah.
And
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 also
we
like critical minerals or whatever that word is,
rare earth minerals,
rare earth,
rare earth metals. Yeah,
yeah, so those
yeah.
things we've seen, but yeah, and just to be honest, most of these consultants that I talk to that have tried to model my company's products, they're doing a terrible job. Just terrible. A lot of the what I put in here, even just drawing out a picture like this, and the fact that it's done by different companies in different locations and yada yada, because what I see the consultants do is like they have an IC and somebody stamped on it, Vietnam or whatever, so they assume all the way back to the mining of the minerals and the creation of the chemicals happened in Vietnam, which is not the way these things work. So they're looking stuff up in tables based on dollars, assuming everything happens in the same geography and yada yada. So, I show them this picture all the time, and they don't like to see this because it just kind of blows their whole methodology out the window. So, I'll
Yeah,
just put,
they're like accountants. They can use like stock formulas that they know are acceptable, and they don't have to be real. Not to make fun of
exactly.
accountants, but yeah, um,
Exactly. So
yeah,
I do think that, if nothing else, that could be the value of this document would be,
yeah.
um, you know, education and, getting people to start to think like, oh, okay, there's a lot of hops and skips here you know, and a lot
So
of pieces that have to be put together and,
yeah,
how can we best do this, right? I think it's perfectly fine if at some point they come up with, some metrics for IC assembly and tasks that take into account number of chiplets and size of package and blah blah blah, right? Size of heat, and then they try to come up with some other, and some assumptions on, kind of where geographically where these things might be happening. And then likewise for the wafer fabs, right? Um,
yeah. We actually do quite a bit of this, and we dig as deep as we can, and then eventually you get to a certain point where you have to use a formula.
yep,
But and unfortunately, we had to trim our workforce, so some of the folks I worked with are no longer here.
yeah,
Um, but um, but I don't get the sense that we go as deep as we can,
mm-hmm,
and there's not a lot of room for like a big error. Um, but again, I don't know what it looks like across the industry, and um, we, when Joan Matziger was our EVP for sustainability and other efforts, you know, we, we were probably leaders, and now I think we're falling a little bit back into the pack, to be honest. Um, but then let me see if there's, maybe moving forward, I'll see what we can be more public about on our side.
that would be cool. So is this coming? All right. Okay.
We
Uh,
don't have help with the test cases, right? With conducting the test case of the trial case.
exactly. So, I do think if we can get some test cases when I come back, I'm going to start to ask within Intel, and also maybe some of our partners at Paya, if, if we can, it doesn't need to be bleeding edge products. I think even if we're a few generations back, it will move the industry along to see some of this information. Um, so again, this is something at OCP Summit. If you meet somebody from NVIDIA, if you meet somebody from Micron, if you could tell them what we're trying to do and see if they can get us in touch with people in their company that might be willing to work with us. Um, so yeah, I
Yeah,
just put this here as a reminder for when we come back.
yeah, I'll be meeting with some Micron folks. Um,
Yeah, so that would be great.
yeah, I'll ask them, to see if they know who we should be talking to.
Yeah, that would be awesome. That would be really awesome. So, all right, so we've got 8 minutes. Um, so like I said, feel free to look at the paper so you can actually see it all on your screen. But I did talk about, what what you would do to calculate embodied carbon, both location and market. And then I didn't not figure my way out through putting together daughter card grade, which is not applicable in this case. The ATM grade for all the ATMs and the grade for all the wafer fabs. I didn't figure out how to put those three together, but I was kind of toying around with how to at least roll up those and to normalize them. And I just put semi-random numbers in, and just to kind of show how the equation would work. So in this case, I showed, one wafer fab that got a good grade, and another one that got not as good grade. And then when you average them together for the whole part, you get the average. So, and then I also just sort of played around with, so I did look a little bit at what you had done, Shruti, and I tried to pull some of that here. I think when I come back, we can talk about temporal grade. I think it's gonna be a hard one to do, but we can get into
Okay.
the nitty gritty on that.
And you're talking about where I had sort of put,
Yeah,
information or the
let's go back.
within
Yeah,
5 months or 1 year. Yeah. Temporal. Okay.
so I tried to attack completeness kind of in a more specific way for each scope, and so we can take a look at that. Temporal, like I said, I have questions, and then quality. So we don't run an LCA is different than just calculating the embodied carbon, right? So we
Yeah.
do not run LCAs on the part. We just
Yeah,
give an
Uh,
embodied
uh,
carbon.
that's true. LCAs are cradles of grave.
Exactly.
But
So
yeah, so LCA should give you more than just the embodied carbon, essentially. But
exactly.
Yes, yes, yeah.
it gives you all the information of the embodied carbon also.
So we did add this discussion here, which I think is what we're just sort of rehashing here.
Covers product carbon beyond embodied carbon. Yeah.
So I would say LCA is perhaps not the correct thing to use for grading the embodied carbon. So I was just playing around with different ideas. Um,
So and I'm not, there's a lot of debate out there in my world of the, SSDs versus HDDs
mm,
for carbon usage. And SSDs they have a really high carbon embodied carbon impact,
exactly.
but they can be more power efficient through their lifetime,
Yep.
which should give them a few bonus points for and I'm putting on my OCP hat and taking off my Seagate hat right now. Um, I think LCAs are worth a mention in that, if you sacrifice embodied carbon for, cradle to grave efficiency, that should be a note somewhere
So we said here,
that
we expect the
yeah,
output of this work to be used as one of many inputs.
I think that's fair. Um, yeah, I think it's almost worth calling out that, if if the cradle's a grave uh, carbon impact is, can offset the embodied carbon, of a given component.
Maybe want to say from LCAs we may find that some product that, for some products, operational carbon
Efficiency, maybe.
efficiency may offset embodied.
Yeah.
Maybe not that. Yep, I think that's a good point.
We don't actually mean that they offset the embodied carbon, right? We are just saying that for some products, the operational carbon might be lower than for other products.
Yeah, I think that they compensate for higher embodied
The
carbon.
total might, yeah, the total might look,
Yeah.
Compensate for higher, sure.
Yeah, good point.
They want me to say compensates. Operational carbon efficiency compensates for higher embodied carbon.
Yeah, offset makes me think of, like, when the drive is running, it is actually consuming carbon. That would be great.
All right. So we are at the top. Shruti and I were gonna go onto another call, not recorded. Do we still need to have that discussion after what we talked about?
So I was actually just looking to see, so at the global summit, I'll sort of be putting together like a summary of what all our current work streams are doing, not for the summit, but for a steering committee huddle before the summit.
Wonderful.
So I just wanted to, one-on-one sync with you and DCEM, and I don't know if Danny wants to have a chat with him. So that's
yeah, I mean, you should get in touch with them. All right, so let's close this call and we'll meet back up on the invite that I sent you.
okay.
All right, bye, Ari. I'll talk to you in November.
All right.
Enjoy
Have a good break, Deb.
Have a good
Okay.
day.
Yeah.
Oh, Sammy, you're here.
Hi.
Do you want to come into the meeting that Shruti and I are just going to have around where all
We can
the
continue using this call itself, because I mean, this is the carbon
Well-
modeling group and the DCEM group then.
Okay, well, we can do that. It's just that this is being recorded.
Oh, so
It
we can
probably
switch
doesn't.
other call. Yeah.
I mean, if we don't mind being recorded, we can just keep on going.
It's okay. Let's just switch to your other call. Yeah.
All right, I'll forward it to you, Sammy.
Okay,
If you
thank you.
want to.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.